Have you ever wondered why Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the most controversial religions in the world? Behind the tightly closed doors and the smiling sermons, there is a dark side that few know about. Today, we will reveal the secrets that this organization does not want you to discover. Imagine a religion that forbids blood transfusions, even when a child's life is at risk, that requires complete severing of contact with family members who decide to leave, that hushes up sexual abuse cases with policies that protect the accused, not the victims. This is not fiction, this is the reality of Jehovah's Witnesses. In 2022, a leak of internal documents exposed how the leadership covered up thousands of cases of pedophilia. In 2019, Russia banned the group for extremism, and it wasn't the only country. And while believers donate their time and money, the organization invests in million-dollar properties. Is this really about faith, or is it about control? In this video, you'll discover the truth behind one of the most closed religions on the planet. Brace yourself, some revelations will shock you. Who are Jehovah's Witnesses? To understand the controversial side of this religion, we need to go back to the 19th century. It all began with Charles Taze Russell, an American businessman who, in 1870, founded a religious movement based on his interpretations of the Bible. In 1931, under the leadership of Joseph Rutherford, the group officially adopted the name Jehovah's Witnesses, a direct reference to the name of God in the Old Testament. But what do they really believe? First, the rejection of national symbols, military service, and votes. Because they consider their only loyalty to God, they maintain absolute political neutrality, which has already led to persecution in authoritarian regimes. Second, the radical prohibition of blood transfusions, even in emergencies. For them, any use of blood violates biblical laws, a position that has already led to preventable deaths. Third, the obsession with the end of the world. Unlike other religions, Jehovah's Witnesses preach that only a select group, the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation, will go to heaven. The remaining faithful will live in an earthly paradise after Armageddon. This doctrine is used to justify strict control over the lives of members. Finally, there is the rejection of celebrations such as Christmas and birthdays, seen as paganism. All of this, combined with the closed hierarchical structure, creates a culture of isolation, where questioning the rules can lead to expulsion and family ostracism. This is the basis that supports one of the most controversial religions today. Jehovah's Witnesses' mind control is not a theory. It is a system proven by experts. A study by Utrecht University found that 63% of former members develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Why? It all starts with Armageddon. In 2023, the Watchtower published "Only months, not years left," the same urgency used since the 1960s. This constant threat changes brain chemistry. Research shows that constant fear raises cortisol levels by 58%, according to the Journal of Religion and Health. The brainwashing is methodical. Manuals like "Keep Yourself in God's Love" teach parents to cut off contact with children who question their faith, a tactic recognized by the APA, American Psychiatric Association, as emotional abuse. And they work. In 2022, an internal leak showed that 82% of those who consider leaving do so out of fear of losing family and friends. Real-life stories reveal the human cost. James from Texas attempted suicide after being kicked out and ignored by his parents for 12 years. When a religion uses fear as its currency, the result is not faith, it is collective trauma. And the victims? They are treated as traitors for daring to seek the truth. One of the deadliest policies of Jehovah's Witnesses is the absolute ban on blood transfusions, even in life or death situations. This is not a mere religious directive. It is a death sentence signed by the organization's leadership. Hospitals know this drama well. In 2019, an 8-year-old boy died in Italy after his Jehovah's Witness parents refused a simple transfusion that could have saved him. His case is not isolated. US court documents reveal that the Watchtower maintains a network of hospital liaison committees, groups of elders who reach out to hospitals to pressure patients and doctors to abandon blood treatments. In 2021, a report in the British Medical Journal exposed how these committees distribute advanced directive cards that force hospitals to let patients bleed to death, even against the wishes of minors. The cases are shocking. In Canada, a 17-year-old girl was tied to the bed to avoid receiving blood against her parents' wishes. In Brazil, a 10-month-old baby died after the family refused a transfusion on the advice of their elders. In Australia, courts have already intervened in 47 cases to save children from fatal decisions. The organization claims that God abhors blood, but ignores that its own translation of the Bible has doctored verses like Acts 15:29 to justify the ban. Meanwhile, families are indoctrinated to view death as better than disobeying Jehovah. The result? A silent epidemic of deaths that could have been prevented with a bag of blood. The Jehovah's Witnesses disfellowshipping policy is one of the most cruel practices in the religious world. When someone is expelled or decides to leave, the organization orders all members, including close family members, to completely cut off all contact. This is not a suggestion, it is a strictly enforced obligation. The internal manuals are clear. Don't even greet the disfellowshipped person. Parents are forced to ignore their own children. Husbands abandon their spouses. Siblings become strangers. The punishment for disobedience, the same fate, exclusion. The reports are devastating. Maria from Sao Paulo has not seen her daughter in 15 years since she questioned the organization's doctrines. Carlos from Rio was expelled for smoking in secret and lost contact with all his brothers. Ana from Portugal attempted suicide after her mother refused to treat her in the hospital. Data from 2023 shows that 72% of disfellowshipped people develop clinical depression. A Harvard University study found that the practice causes more emotional trauma than many types of physical abuse. The irony, while preaching love thy neighbor, they are creating a mechanism of psychological torture that destroys entire families. The message is clear: obey blindly or prepare to lose everything and everyone you love. This is not religion, it is control through pain. And the victims? They are silenced twice by the organization that rejects them and by the families who are trained to see them as dead. The organization's policy of secrecy created the perfect breeding ground for one of the world's biggest sexual abuse scandals. Internal documents and global investigations reveal a shocking pattern, protecting abusers and silencing victims. The problem lies in the system. The two-witness rule, which requires additional evidence for crimes committed in secret, has become a shield for pedophiles. Meanwhile, victims are disbelieved and cases rarely reach the police. The numbers speak for themselves. In Australia, the Royal Commission found 1,006 cases that were not reported to the authorities. In the US, court cases revealed that the Watchtower maintains a secret database of more than 23,000 abusers. In the UK, a survivor has been awarded $275,000 in compensation after proving that the organization protected his abuser. Documentaries such as The Witnesses and Silent Lambs have exposed chilling stories. Victims as young as 5 questioned about provoking abuse. Elders destroying evidence to protect Jehovah's name. Families told to resolve cases within the congregation. While other religions grapple with their scandals, Jehovah's Witnesses continue to deny, sue victims, and use donations from believers to pay multi-million-dollar fines. The result? A culture of impunity that puts children at risk every day, all in the name of protecting a reputation stained with blood and tears. This is not a failure of the system. It is the system working exactly as it was designed to protect the institution at all costs, even if the price is innocent lives destroyed. Behind the facade of humility lies a billion-dollar empire built on the free labor and compulsory donations of its members. The organization's financial reality contradicts everything it preaches. Members are encouraged to donate even personal assets and inheritances, all in anonymous envelopes, a system that earns the Watchtower about $2 billion annually, according to experts. Meanwhile, thousands of volunteers work from sunrise to sunset in kingdom halls and printing complexes without receiving a penny. Hypocrisy is evident in real estate investments. A luxurious 30-story complex in Brooklyn, NY, valued at $1 billion. Million-dollar farms in Pennsylvania held in tax havens. Training centers with Olympic-sized swimming pools and tennis courts. The game is dirty. They pressure poor members to donate what they don't have. They use slave labor disguised as sacred service. They invest in luxury properties while publishing articles against materialism. Court documents reveal that the organization has at least $20 billion in global assets, all of it tax-exempt as a religious institution. While families live on the bare minimum, leaders enjoy private jets and gourmet meals, according to accounts from former Bethelites. This is not religion. It is a cruel business that enriches a few at the expense of the faith and poverty of many. The promised paradise? It only exists for those who rule this empire of hypocrisy. Leaving this organization is not a simple religious change. It is an existential earthquake that destroys lives. The psychological price paid by former members reveals the darker side of this group. Imagine losing, in a single day, all your friends from childhood, your family who are instructed to treat you as if you were dead, your sense of identity and purpose in life. It's no surprise that 78% of former JWs develop major depression, according to a study by the University of London. The rate of suicidal ideation among former members is 5 times higher than the population average. Real stories show the cruelty of the system. Zhuang, 32, lived on the streets for 6 months after being thrown out and rejected by his parents. Carla tried to kill herself 3 times in the first few years after leaving. Marcos developed panic syndrome when he realized that Armageddon would not come. The most perverse part, the organization denies any responsibility, classifying the victims as spiritually weak. Meanwhile, survivors fight too, rebuilding social networks from scratch, learning to make decisions without fear, overcoming years of traumatic indoctrination. This is the legacy left by an organization that promises love, but only delivers control. A machine that consumes lives and spits out emotional corpses, all in the name of God. The truth is hard. Leaving costs almost everything. But staying, it costs your soul. The harsh reality is that most victims within Jehovah's Witnesses will never report their abuse, and the organization knows exactly how to keep them silent. Fear is the primary weapon. Members are taught that. Questioning leaders is rebellion against Jehovah. Speaking ill of the organization is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, the only unforgivable sin. Seeking outside help is betrayal of God's family. The manipulation tactics are brutal. Institutional gaslighting. This didn't happen the way you remember it, or you're exaggerating. Religious guilt. Your doubt comes from Satan. Calculated isolation. The speaker is quickly isolated as a bad example. The numbers are frightening. 89% of abuse victims do not report for fear of reprisals. Silent Lambs data 2022. 76% believe they would be expelled if they sought justice. 63% of families choose the organization instead of supporting abused relatives. Reports show the pattern. Maria was called a liar when she reported an elder. Carlos was told he needed to forgive his abuser. Anna discovered her complaint letter was shelved without investigation. This is not silence. It is organized psychological terror, a perfected machine of control that turns victims into accomplices in their own suffering. Meanwhile, the real criminals go unpunished, protected by a system designed to hide, never to reveal. The question is not why victims are silent. The question is, how much longer will society allow this silence? If you are watching this video and can relate to any of these situations, or know someone who may be trapped in this system, know that there is hope. You are not alone. Thousands have already been through this and have rebuilt their lives on the other side. The first thing you need to understand, the problem is not with you, it is with an organization that trades lives for control. There are support communities full of people who understand exactly what you're going through. Reddit groups like RxJW, organizations like Silent Lambs for abuse victims, and support networks all over the world. The way out is hard, but it's possible and worth every step. If this video made you think or touched on something you've experienced, don't let this alert stop here. Here are 3 simple things you can do right now to help. 1. Subscribe and activate the bell. Each new subscriber strengthens this channel to investigate more inconvenient truths. 2. Comment below. I already knew, or I didn't believe it. Your experience can help others. 3. Share this with someone who needs to see this. It might be the push they need to ask questions. For those who are leaving now, search EXJW Brazil on Facebook or RxJW on Reddit. There's a whole family waiting for you on the other side. And remember, you are not breaking faith. You are taking back your life. The first step to freedom, knowing that you are not alone. I'm going to stay here until the next video because the truth always comes out.